welcome to our Thursday night worship. My name's Katie White, and I'm the Girls Ministry Director here at the main campus. All of our staff from the main campus, the East Campus, and the North Campus, we miss you, we love you, we're enjoying our Thursday nights. We can't wait to get back together with you guys. We are glad you joined us tonight, though. We have a great service prepared for you. Today, I don't know if you know, today is, again, Thursday. Sometimes we forget what day it is in quarantine. It is day 32, if you're keeping track of quarantine. Today's day 32, and I have something for you. I just want to see how you're doing at home. We're going to give you a quarantine score. I'm going to ask you a few questions and just see how you're doing in quarantine. So give yourself a point for every one of these you did today. The more points, the better. First of all, did you actually get out of bed? I'm hoping you did at 6:30, so give yourself a point if you actually got out of bed. Did you change out of your PJs? Maybe not, some of you guys. Did you brush your hair? If you brushed your hair, give yourself another point. Did you brush your teeth? Oh, I hope you did. Give yourself another point if you brushed your teeth. What about showering? Did you shower today with soap? Give yourself a point for that one. Did you wear deodorant? I know not everybody wears deodorant during quarantine, but did you? If you did, give yourself a point. Next one, your underwear. Is it clean? Is it different than the pair you had on yesterday? Not just turning it inside out, is it a different pair? Give yourself a point for that one as well. Did you have caffeine today? I would think everybody would say yes to that one. Did you have breakfast today? Most important meal of the day? Did you go outside? Hopefully you went outside and got out of your house. And last but not least, your pants. Do they have something besides just elastic? Is there a button or a zipper there? If so, give yourself a point. Let us know how you did with your quarantine score. Mine is usually very low. I showered for you guys, all right, but usually it's very low. So again, we're glad you're here tonight. Now we're gonna turn it over to the next part of our service. We're gonna be hearing some of my favorite dad jokes from some of my favorite dads.
All right, Katie, thank you so much for that introduction. I think I got all of them except for one, and I feel a little offended that I cannot brush my hair, so I'll take that for what it's worth. But this week, our Stay in Your Lane games, we've got Pastor Allen and Pastor Heath, and they're going to be telling some dad jokes, and they're going to take turns telling the jokes, and whichever one cracks up, Heath, if you make Allen crack up and start laughing, then you get a point. If not, we just move on to the next joke. Okay. All right, we're going to let...
If you laugh at your own joke.
That counts too. That counts against you.
Absolutely.
All right.
I really like some of my jokes.
I have high hopes, but I should probably set my bar a little bit lower. All right, Heath, we're going to start out with you and let you go first.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm. I actually want to start with a construction joke.
Great.
But I'm still working on it.
I see what you did there. That's good. All right. What do you call someone who never passes gas in public?
I don't know.
A private tutor.
Good job so far. I'm not doing good, but good job.
How does a penguin build its house?
I have no idea.
It glues it together.
Igloo. I got it. It's good. Solid. What do you call a cow who attempts to jump over a barbed wire fence? Utter devastation. All right, I laughed, but he did too.
He laughed first, though. How does that work?
Cracked it up a little first.
I like these jokes.
That was pretty good. I'll give that one. My daughters are going to love that one. I'll give that point to Heath.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep.
All right.
All right. Hey.
Hang on.
See, we're good. This is good now.
Yeah,
now we're
I knew
rolling.
this would happen. I knew this would happen. All right. Go ahead.
Hey. Did you hear the rumor about the stick of butter?
I didn't.
Well, I'm not going to spread it.
Got it. Josh is a hard person to do this in front of. Let me just tell you.
Oh.
What's the crunkest place to go to the bathroom?
I don't know.
Lil Jon. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm going to lose this game.
I'll just take a point for everybody. The fact that you just used the word crunkus in that sentence made my day. All right, I'm sorry. Nobody got that point because that was all on me.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Hey,
Hey,
have you seen the picture of that guy who has a hand that's 11 inches long?
no.
I take it back. Actually, it was a foot.
Okay. I think we're trending in the wrong direction here. Most people like 3 covers on their bed at all times. That's just a blanket statement.
If you see a crime at an Apple store, does it make you an eyewitness?
That's good. That one almost got me. Do you know why you never see elephants hiding in trees? Because they are really good at it.
I don't trust stairs.
Why?
They're always up to something.
It's true. So I have a little story for you. This little Indian was introduced to sweet tea, and the first day he drank 3 gallons of sweet tea. The story does have a sad ending because later that night, the little Indian drowned in his own teepee. Yes!
Okay. One for Alan.
That one has layers.
One for
Yes.
I was not sure where that was headed,
But I'm thankful that's where it landed. Okay.
all right. I have tears. All right.
I'm good. Okay. Why can't you hear a psychiatrist using the bathroom?
I don't know.
Because the P is silent.
That's good. That was good.
All right. We're at 2-1 if I can count. Last week apparently I couldn't count, but this week I think I'm good.
We've only laughed at the potty humor jokes, which is really sad.
I don't know. I feel like we've taken a turn, and I'm not sure how this is going to wind up.
I'm out
All right.
of potty jokes, I think.
All right.
My friend keeps saying, cheer up. It could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water. I know he means well.
That's good. I don't like any of the rest of my jokes
Why is that?
because they're bad. This isn't a joke. I was just making a statement. Sorry.
Oh, that's not the joke. Okay.
No.
All right.
One time I made a pencil with 2 erasers. It was totally pointless.
Yeah, it was.
All right, Alan, here's your last shot to tie it back
Oh,
up.
man. Did you hear about the superhero with a lisp that worked out too much?
No.
He was really Thor. Yes!
All right, we're gonna end our game this week in a tie. I appreciate you guys. You're both very good with the dad jokes. I hope you guys at home enjoyed that. If you got some dad jokes of your own that you'd like to send in to us, bonus points if it's your dad telling us those jokes.
Amen.
We'd love to hear from you and see those videos. Here in just a second, we're going to transition and begin our show. Thank you, guys. All right, thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed those games. I hope you enjoyed and had a good laugh at those dad jokes. Thanks to Pastor Allen and Pastor Heath. I feel like they've got that dad joke title held down real tight, and hopefully one day I can share some of mine as well. But tonight we also, since it's Thursday night, we wanted to take some time and write some thank you notes. And with us tonight, we've also got our Lindsay Lane Student Ministry Worship Pastor, Mr. Will Stutz. Will, I like that snazzy jacket over there.
Thank you. I borrowed it from a friend. It's a little too small.
That's all right. Just don't clap and we're good. All right, so first we're going to start off with some thank you notes. Can we get some music, Will?
Yes.
Maybe a little pep?
All right. I think I know what you mean.
Okay. We'll take it. We'll see. Okay. All right, here's our first thank you note. Thank you, coronavirus pandemic, for making the world realize that it's finally time to wash their hands. Thank you, Corona, for showing the whole world that the Charmin Bears were onto something from the very beginning. Those bears just make me feel awkward. They don't help anything. Thank you, Benedict Cumberbatch, or as I like to call you, Benedict Cumbersnatch, for sounding less like an actor and more like what an Englishman would have for brunch.
That's true. Very hard name to say.
Will, would you eat baked beans for breakfast?
Baked beans? No. That's a weird one. I've never tried that one before.
I feel like you had to draw the line somewhere. All right. Thank you, online schooling, for proving to my parents that my DeVry University degree in marketing analytics is a real degree. Take that, Dad.
That one seemed a little pointed.
I feel like that's a little personal. I won't tell who that one came from. Thank you, Stay in Your Lane Games, for reminding me that even our pastors are picky eaters like me. I will say that came from our very own Will Stutz.
Yeah, I'm pretty picky, but I'm not as picky as some of the other pastors. I know there's somebody that doesn't like mayonnaise. I can eat mayonnaise.
I'm not picky at all. I think that's my problem. I'll eat anything, anywhere, anytime.
See, I don't gain weight because I'm picky. I gain weight because of what I do eat. It's in large quantities.
All right, here's our next one. Thank you, Marie Kondo, for thinking that we actually have motivation to clean out our closets for hours. Have you watched Marie Kondo?
I don't know who that is.
You got to watch Tidying Up, Netflix.
No, I like Chip and Joanna, but I don't know who that is.
If it doesn't spark joy, you let it go.
Oh, okay.
All right, here's another one. Thank you, Clorox, Lysol, and hand sanitizer, for helping us all realize that outside of a pandemic, we are all just a bunch of filthy animals. And then here's our last one. Thank you, Flattening the Curve, for being the reason that we're all staying home and a great motivation to put back that 5th chocolate chip cookie. Well, that's it for our thank you notes tonight. I hope you've enjoyed that. Come back and join us here in just a second. We'll have a great interview with some good friends of mine who are serving as missionaries overseas, and we look forward to hearing from them in just a second. Tonight, we've got some very special guests joining us. They're literally from across the globe, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their family, tell you a little bit about where they are and what they are doing. David and Robin, it's so good to see you guys. We're excited to hear from you, so share with us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, Josh, so glad to be with you guys tonight. And my name is David Cole. This is my wife,
Robin. Hey.
We have 3 children, Olivia, Caleb, and Ivy. And we live in Southeast Asia, in the largest Muslim country of the world. And so we'll let you do a little research and find that place. And we live in the capital city.
Yeah, so we've been here for over 7 years. And I am originally from Mississippi. And so after college, I moved out to Las Vegas and I lived there for a while. And then when I met David and we married, I moved to Memphis.
And I'm a northerner, but born in the South. Born in Birmingham, Alabama, and raised up in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. And went away to college as well and spent a couple of years after that in Venezuela as a journeyman. And then came back to go to school, and that's where I met Josh and Amanda there at Mid-America, and I went to school there in Memphis, and then that's where we met, and after a period of time, the Lord led us overseas.
All right, David and Robin, here's question number 1 for you. Most importantly, for all of us here in the great state of Alabama, where did you go to college, and who do you pull for in football?
Oh, of course, Josh. We're going to let the viewers know where we went to college.
Okay, so I actually am a Mississippi State Bulldog. I went to school down in Starkville at Mississippi State University. Go Dogs!
And I went to the best university in the world, Auburn University. War Eagle, fly down the field. War Eagle, hey!
I live with this all the time.
And it's wonderful. So, yeah, I knew Josh was priming y'all for that, and I'm sure most of you are happy to know that we went to Auburn and Mississippi State.
All right, here's question 2. What does ministry look like for you and your family?
So, day to day, things can vary, but of course, we're focused on 6 different places in which we can bring about the good news here. So, part of that is entry into a new area and places where the gospel has not gone forth. So, part of what we do is looking for new communities or new relationships in which we don't currently have contact, and in which they don't have contact with the gospel, and enter in, and then of course followed up with evangelism, and we lead out with the good news of Jesus, and use that as a primer to see in whose hearts God is already at work and who he's opening up to the good news, and which then leads into discipleship and helping people to grow in obedience to the commands of Christ, and how they can begin to walk in community as a local church. So that moves into local church formation and healthy church formation, and ultimately as the church matures, you have leaders that are developed, and so we want to see leaders that have high quality character and are walking with Jesus, that are also able to carry on the leadership of disciples. And then we are always looking forward to the ahead, and how the Lord may be asking us to move to a different place, or when is the right time for us to move on and allow the work to carry on locally. And so we work with many different people, with local nationals here we have on our team, with other folks with the same organization as us that are serving, with folks from different organizations who are also here, who care about the city and the people in which we are serving. And so day to day, that may look like meeting with a pastor and talking about the work of the ministry of their church, or it may involve meeting with my national partners and sharpening each other, and how we are holding each other accountable to sharing the gospel and making disciples. Sometimes it looks like training others, youth groups like yourself, how to share the gospel among their peers and make an impact for the kingdom. And so day to day can look quite different.
And so for me, my day-to-day is often spent here in our home with our kids. I homeschool our 3 children, which is actually not something I ever imagined I would be doing. And so this is something that God has called me to do at this time. And so I am serving, some days very joyfully and some days not, because it can be a challenge. And then the things like cooking meals, it just like in America, you have to think ahead, you have to plan and do those kind of things. But sometimes you can't always get all the ingredients that you want for a meal. And I know that Amanda often does Taco Tuesdays, and sometimes we can't always find the ingredients that we want. Like for a month or more, we couldn't get cilantro. And then we went for a few months, we couldn't even get onions. So things are a little bit different, as far as things like that go. But I also get to spend time with my house helper. She's a lady that has moved here for work. She's been working for our family for about 3 years. And I get to talk with her, and I get to hear about her life and about her family. And when she has a need, she will share that with me. When she's afraid about things, she tells me. And so I have the opportunity to encourage her and pray for her, because she's not a believer. She's heard the truth many times, but it hasn't penetrated her heart yet. So that's one of the ways that I get to spend my time with the National. And then also, just our kids are involved in extracurricular activities. And so I get to be involved in working with their teachers or their gymnastics coaches and things like that. So I'm pretty busy doing the mom life too.
And then question 3, how has this coronavirus impacted your life and ministry?
So yeah, much like you guys are encountering changes, and in fact doing a lot of things virtually, same with us here. A lot of our life is done virtually now as far as meetings, whether it's with national partners or with others. This past Resurrection Sunday, we did a Zoom call with our teammates and with our national partners, in which we sang some songs and had prayer for each other and shared from the Word. And so we were able to meet as a body of believers virtually, much like you guys are doing. Even our kids and their activities. Olivia today has done gymnastics virtually through Zoom as well, as the teacher instructs, and she's participating in that. And so
yesterday the kids had piano lessons through a phone call, through a WhatsApp phone call, video chat.
So the main way it's impacted us is just not having as much face-to-face time with people and getting out as much and even at all to be able to share the good news. So that would be a prayer, as we'll share some other prayer requests, just for us to, in ways through WhatsApp or other social media, to be able to continue to share the gospel, but also just have wisdom as we do long to be out among the people and to share the good news, as we have a hope that they don't. And so even if we were to become sick or something were to happen to us, we know that our eternity is secure, but the people around us don't have that same security.
All right, since living overseas, what would you say has been the biggest change in how you view the world?
I think on that. That's a good question. That's a hard question.
Yeah, so as far as what is different about view of living overseas, I think sometimes you romanticize or kind of have this idealistic idea of what it's going to be like living overseas. And, you have such a great passion and drive for taking the gospel to the lost. And maybe some of you participated on a short-term trip and you just come back super energized from that and just the incredible experience that was. But when you're living day to day and you're struggling, especially at first, to even say very simple things in another language, and you're the outsider, and you're the one that's learning the culture, and you're the one having to make a lot of the changes and adaptations. I think that's when it kind of really sinks in. But I think the thing that remains the same is just the presence of lostness around you, and the desperate need of the gospel becomes even more clear and a reality wherever you are. But I would say, too, I was pleasantly surprised at how much easier, actually, it is where we live to be able to engage in a conversation quickly to the gospel. Whereas in the States, a lot of times people will put an end to a conversation or really not be interested in talking about spiritual things. But I think,
or in America, sometimes they're very direct and say they don't want to talk about Jesus. They don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Yeah.
But here, I think, at least because of culturally, it's polite to respect somebody and to listen to them even if you don't agree. And so a lot of times we're able to share even if somebody's not all that interested, but they give you the time to do that.
I think one of the ways that I view the world differently is that as David just mentioned, that we're the outsiders now. And so it just really gives me a greater compassion thinking back to when I lived in America, to all the foreigners around me, and how seldom I ever invited any of them into my home to just have a meal with them, or to play games with them, or just to have simple conversation. We were blessed to be able to be a part of an English as a second language teaching opportunity at Kirby Woods Baptist. And so we were around foreigners, and we were doing events there on the church campus with foreigners. But now, knowing what it's like for 7 years, that I am the outsider, and how it would be so nice if a national would call me and say, hey, would you like to go get coffee? But that hasn't happened. I've had plenty of other opportunities where I've been reached out to, but to have someone just to take interest in me that's something that has shaped how I view the world. So my role now, my hope is that wherever God moves us, that I will be intentional in reaching out to others, whether they're locals or foreigners, but particularly the foreigners.
Question 5, what's the greatest lesson that the Lord has taught you since serving in your current roles?
Josh, why you gonna be asking that?
I think one thing, regularly the Lord just reveals my weakness and my complete dependence upon Him, and so it drives you to prayer. I've not arrived by any means in my prayer life, but I believe that that's become ever more present and aware in my personal walk, my desperate need and dependence upon Him for everything. And so recently just reading through 1 Samuel and the life of David, and how when he inquired of the Lord spoke and clearly directed his paths. And yet when he was acting on his own flesh or in anger or fear and not inquiring of the Lord is when he found himself faltering in his walk with the Lord. And so I think that becomes real. I remember in seminary, and Josh knows this friend of ours too, Abele, who's from Ivory Coast, and he would tell us all that please come to the Ivory Coast. But he said, if you do not pray, do not come to work among my people in the Ivory Coast, because the spiritual darkness is so real, and the power of the enemy keeping people in darkness. And so if you're not leaning on the Lord in prayer, you're going to be susceptible to attack. So I think that's one thing I've learned.
You know, something that the Lord really has taught me, and I think I'm still learning it, is that His timing is always right, and His plan is always good and pleasing and perfect, even if it's a very difficult circumstance. And oftentimes, His timing and His plan, those lessons are learned in hard circumstances. And I can just give you a couple of quick examples that I've thought of while David was sharing. David and I both got really, really sick with a bad stomach something, and we were pretty sure that we had a parasite, but we had gone to the doctor several times and all the tests were negative, but we were in so much pain and we were so very sick, and the medicine that we were told to take worked for David and it didn't work for me, and I was really suffering. And in God's timing, He had a volunteer who had made a trip from the Knoxville, Tennessee area to a different country, but they were in Southeast Asia, and they were going to come to the capital city of my country for just a few days to visit somebody. And I got word that they were in that neighboring country where that medicine that I needed was available, and she was able to bring that to me. And so God's timing was so perfect for me to be able to have access to that medicine, because it was not available here in this country. And then another opportunity when God taught me that His timing is always right and it's good and I can trust Him is I had a really bad accident where I got burned severely on my hands and my arms and face. And it was much worse than I thought at first. And the healthcare where we live was a little questionable in the area of burns. And so the organization that we serve with, within a few hours of the decision being made for me to get medical care, within a few hours, David had a plane ticket for me, he had a hotel lined up for me, and a doctor's appointment with the head of the department of the burn center at this hospital in another country. And I was on an airplane within just a few hours, and God's timing was perfect. If David had waited to call for another appointment a few hours later, I may not have been able to be seen by that particular doctor. And so God's timing is always perfect, and it's oftentimes in very challenging circumstances, but I think it can make waiting on Him when things are hard, waiting on the Lord and not just rushing ahead with your own plans of what you think or what I think is going to be the best, but to wait to hear clearly from Him. That's something I'm still learning.
All right, and then lastly, how can we be praying for you, your family, and your ministry?
Well, there's a lot of ways you could pray for us, but just a few that I can think of right now. Being trapped, I don't want to say trapped, but in our house so much, just like I'm sure you are, but with 3 little children, it can be taxing. I know that the Shirleys understand what that can be like, but we don't have as much freedom to get out. We don't have a yard per se. We do have a patio that we can go on, but we have friends that are in apartments and they can't even leave their buildings. So we're keeping things in perspective. But if you just pray for me to be patient and kind and loving towards my kids, because my sin nature often comes out. And so that's one way that you can pray for us. Another way you can pray is that God would just grow and mature our children. Olivia, our oldest, she has already professed faith in Christ and been baptized. And this pandemic has been challenging for her. She struggled to be in this house so much. She struggled to not be with friends and to have an outlet among peers, whether they're international or national friends. And so she's had a hard time, but in the last few days I've even seen some changes that God's doing in her heart and her approach to being here. And then our son Caleb, and he's just recently professed faith in Christ. So if you would pray that the Lord would just continue to work in his heart. And then for our youngest, Ivy is her name. She's about to start first grade, so she's still quite young. But if you just pray that the Lord would just give her a desire to know the Lord and to be obedient to him, and that he would give her ears to hear when he calls her name.
And for our work, just that the Lord would continue to lead our team to people who are open to the gospel, and that God would use this coronavirus pandemic to open the hearts of people here to the good news. We're about to enter into fasting month for Muslims, and so this is a month in which they really believe that they can have their sins taken care of, and so they don't eat from sun up to sundown. Then once the sun sets, they break their fast and they eat a lot of food. But it's going to be a challenge for them this year, since they're being encouraged to stay in their homes and not to celebrate in the way that they usually do. And so be interesting to see, and we just ask that the Lord would do a mighty work through this time, that they would see the emptiness of their ritual and their religion, and that they would be looking for something else, and that's what we're asking God to do, and for greater cooperation among believers and churches, and that God would move among churches to really have a heart for lostness, particularly toward Muslims, as many are afraid of things that could happen if they share the good news with them. And so we just ask that this time too would be an opportunity for believers to wait on the Lord, as Robin was just saying, and to pray, and then to prepare themselves for when we will have more interaction face to face with people to proclaim the gospel.
Yeah, and one other request, if you don't mind. Would you pray for our helper and her family? We call her Heart. That's the name that we give her. But she doesn't know the Lord, and her husband doesn't know the Lord, and their 2 children, and she's expecting their 3rd child. Would you pray that during this time, she hasn't been able to come to work? This is now her 5th week. And would you just pray that the Lord would give her dreams about who Jesus is, and that the rituals and the things that she has done and been taught all of her life to do, that is never going to measure up to what Christ has already done. And so would you just pray that during this season where we're separated from her physically, but also where she is really engaging in the rituals of the fasting month that are about to take place, would you pray that God would save her and her whole family?
Thank you guys so much for this opportunity just to have an interview virtually, and we hope to, in the near future, have a chance to see you guys face to face, Lord willing. And we just pray that God would continue to raise you guys up in the Lord, and that you would be bold witnesses for Christ where you are. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you guys so much for sharing with us. I hope you guys at home enjoyed hearing from the Coles. I hope you'll be praying for them and their family. They're a wonderful family. They're great friends of ours. They love the Lord, and we're looking forward to hearing from them and what the Lord's doing in their lives.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to our extra special episode, Late Night Lane, tonight. We really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to tune in again next Thursday night at 6:30 for our episode 6 of Stay in Your Lane. We'll have a message and a game, of course, just for y'all. Don't forget also, on Sunday mornings, we have a live service at 10:30 a.m. And then on Wednesday nights at 6:30, you can hear from all of our campus pastors. Also, if you have younger siblings, they can see a children's service on Tuesday night. So don't forget about everything that we still have going on, even though we're quarantined. Guys, again, we really miss y'all. We hope we get to be together soon. I'd like to go over just a few announcements. On our website, we've got 2 new things, so you can check out outreach opportunities if you and your family are looking to get involved in some ministry options right now. And also, if you're looking for a devotion or a Bible study, don't forget that we have a resource, Right Now Media, and you can access that for free through our website. So don't forget to check those 2 things out. Guys, also, if you have pictures from our drive-in Easter service that we really hope you were able to attend this past weekend, if you want to share those pictures with us, we would love for you to do that. You can use the hashtag LLBC Easter Drive-In, and that way we can see those pictures too, and we can share in that memory with you. I know y'all have probably been wondering about our summer activities. Well, we don't have definite answers yet, but hopefully we are gonna still get to go on our mission trip in June and our summer camp in July. So y'all make sure you're checking my emails every week, because we'll have some updates about those very soon. Right now, we're still planning on going on those. So definitely you want to be a part of that. So be on the lookout for updates regarding all that. Also, seniors, we are still looking for a way to recognize y'all in May. It may not be our traditional graduate recognition, but if you did not receive a letter in the mail, reach out to us, guys. We really want to still recognize you, even though it may not be a traditional service. And so we love y'all, we miss y'all. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week.